Manifestation can be used for so much more than just money. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you how I recently used the principles of manifestation to improve a medical procedure for myself. And my name's Liza. Welcome to my channel, Watch Her Rise. I'm so glad that you're here, where we discuss everything about how to become the highest version of ourselves so that we can earn more money and we can give more to society. And so today's topic is so important because I want to demonstrate for you how I have gone from living a life that was very messy. I had $282,000 in debt. My marriage was not doing very well. I overall was very disappointed. I was dissatisfied in my career. And quite frankly, I just thought, what is the purpose of life? I was diagnosed with depression. I was diagnosed with anxiety, PTSD. I had survived a home invasion in 2007 that left me riddled with an identity of pretty much a broken, victimized woman that truly couldn't do anything, that brought any fear to my body. I would go into this spiral, this shutdown mode. My heart would start racing. My mouth would go dry. I really couldn't see, and I would feel like I was just kind of levitating above myself, dissociated from reality almost. And so in order to address this issue, I did what most Americans, most humans do. I looked for a way to numb myself so that I could eliminate the discomfort and get back to some form of what I considered reality, which now I look back and I realize that I was confused about all of it. And now that I understand how the mind works and our freedom that is given to us through neuroscience, through conscious awareness, I really have been able to create a life of complete time and money freedom. I've been able to use manifestation to pay off all of our debt, which was $282,000. Also manifested an extra $200,000, which let me leave my career that I thought I wanted in nursing and that I spent 20 years building. But then I realized there was something else for me. And so having that financial freedom is really what allowed me to kind of step out of my comfort zone again and build this business. And now I live the dream, helping women rise to their greatest potential every single day. And so recently, what was going on is that my migraines had started to increase in frequency and intensity. And this is something that I've had since I was a child. And originally, when I was a child, we did an MRI. And at the time, I was put on a medication that I took daily. I was 6 or 7 years old. It was a trial medication. And looking back, I can really attribute the fact that my mom had left my dad when I was 5. We had nannies that were coming in and out of the house. My dad worked night shift. He was rarely around. I was very alone and scared as a child, and I didn't really learn coping skills. And migraines run in my family, but I really look back and I see a little girl that was highly stressed. And so as time went on, my migraines continued, but they were about maybe 2 a month, minimum of 3 a year, maximum of 2 a month. But about last year is when they sped up to about 6 times a week. And to be perfectly honest, they got so bad that we created a safety plan, because at one point I told my husband that I really didn't think that I could live with this level of pain and debilitation, especially as someone who has done as much self-development as I had, who had developed my levels of conscious awareness. If you hear something, that's my dog snoring in the background. Honey, you are clearly comfortable. But I wanted a life of freedom. I wanted a life of fulfillment. I wanted to enjoy this season of my life, and these migraines were wrecking me. Now, I have children. I have a husband. And despite the pain, despite the peripheral blindness, despite the nausea, despite the light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, my day-to-day basically looked like me wearing earplugs, no joy in my face, just complete flat affect, inability to laugh. But I would do all the things to get my children awake, make them breakfast, get them to school, help them with their homework, make sure dinner was made, make sure the laundry stayed on top, make sure the house was still organized. But I didn't have a life. I was in debilitating pain. So we went through this MRI. So long story short, the MRI was ordered and I actually ignored it because I realized I was going to have to be in a tube and an enclosed space. And despite all of the healing that I've done, I just wasn't looking forward to this. And so we tried a medication. I take it once every other day, and the migraines have really subsided. I've had maybe 10 total since starting the medication 6 months ago, which is a huge win. And so, long story short, my neurologist said we still need to get that brain MRI. We need a baseline. We need to check things out. So I said, okay, let's do it. So manifestation. There are 5 steps to manifestation. 1, getting clear on your desire. What is the end result? 2, visualizing that end result using your 4th dimension, your imagination. 3, activating that end result with frequency, vibration, feeling, and we often do this by pairing music during our visualizations. 4 is pretty much the hardest part for most people, which is letting go and then allowing the bridge of incidents to unfold, as Neville Goddard puts it. And then 5 is repeating this process. And so what I did is I said, what do I want this end result to be? And I thought, I want this end result to be that the test goes well without a hitch. Everything's fine. I'm okay. I don't break down or fall apart. I'm not ignoring my feelings. I'm not pushing through. I'm authentic. I get it done. I'm able to drive myself there, drive myself home. And I want to do so without any kind of crutches or anything like that. Because I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I'm also sober for 9 years. And so the last thing that I can do is numb myself. I don't want to do that. I don't want any external things to change the way I feel inside. So the end result was determined. And so what I did is started to visualize. And through this visualization, I would have healing frequencies playing in the background. And so that moved me into this was like 3 days up to the MRI, got to the place. When I pulled in the parking lot, I looked around, I grounded myself. I just said, we are here. The morning I woke up today, I immediately became hyper aware of my thoughts. And I did this to redirect them to the present moment, to remain higher levels of consciousness, because we are not our thoughts. We are the ones that are observing our thoughts. We can also adjust our thoughts. And so I wanted to be in control and create this reality for myself. And so that's what I did. So this morning, I made sure to start with meditation that was focused on peace and knowing and remaining present. And then at the gym, I walked to allow my body to remove and release some energy as it was coming through. And then during the MRI, once I got into the machine, she gave me earplugs. It was so funny because she said it's going to be really loud. And I thought to myself, it's fine. I'm going to be visualizing. I'm going to be breathing. When this thing turned on, I mean, it was the most awful, horrific sounds, and none of them were the same, and they're all different frequencies, and none of the frequencies are healing. And I'm just thinking, is this a joke? This goes on for 27 minutes. Then she comes in, starts the IV, gives the contrast, and then walks out, and it goes for another 10 minutes. So the hardest part for me was honestly the sensory stimulation from the sound, which was the noises that are the things that make you want to hurt somebody, typically, like nails on a chalkboard. I mean, jackhammer on concrete. I survived. Looking back, I honestly wish that I would have been warned about that because I could have done a better job. But overall, I give myself an A because this is how it went down. When she put me in there, I immediately started breath work. In 4, hold 4, out 4. Now, of course, I didn't do a full 4 seconds to demonstrate that, but that's what I was doing. And it ended up being in 4, out 4, in 4, out 4. And I started counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because what I wanted to do was to stay present. And I wanted my focus to be on the moment at hand. Because when we are aware, it's very hard to be anxious. When our senses are occupied by actually what's around us, that means that we're not time traveling. So we're not thinking about the future. We're not worried about the past, the what ifs. And so by staying grounded and staying open to the possibilities and avoiding resistance. So resistance is what's happening when we experience stress. Resistance is things like, oh my God, this is going to take freaking forever. How am I going to get through this? We're just going to have to suck it up. This is loud as hell. Is it going to be this loud the whole time? These are thoughts from a place of resistance rather than welcoming the experience, accepting that we are capable of handling it, and just staying in the moment. Okay. So when I'm in the machine, I would kind of go between breath work, and then I also decided I wanted a loving presence, a voice. And so I said, Mom, I'd love for you to show up now. If you could hang out with me for a little bit while I go through this, that would be super great. And within seconds, I heard her voice. Hey, darling, I'm right here. I'll be with you the whole time. So throughout my experience in the MRI, I really felt my mom's presence. I heard her voice clear as day, and I maintained breath work. And this put me into a place of zen. I felt my heart rate going down. And then when she took me out to put the IV in and put the contrast, and there was still 10 more minutes, she was trying to have some small talk with me, and I advocated for myself. I simply said, I am going to remain in my state of meditation and zen until this whole thing is over. And she said, I respect that. No problem. And so when she came in and said the whole thing's done, I was surprisingly crying. And she said, oh my gosh, are you okay? Because she took the stuff off my face. I said, I'm better than okay. I am amazing. This is elation. One, over the fact that it's done and I'm alive and I didn't mess it up and we don't have to do it twice. And two, it didn't cause me any problems. And three, I got to hang out with my mom the whole time. And so I left the MRI having manifested that experience, and it ended up being better than I had envisioned in my imagination. And I do credit manifestation to helping me with this because it created a remarkable journey for me. And then to top this off, just FYI, if you're someone that is working on overcoming your fears, I purposefully blocked the rest of my afternoon so that I didn't have clients, so that there wasn't any more high priority need from me. I could then tend to myself, allow this energy to move through. I can go for a walk outside. I met my husband for lunch. I took a quick nap after the procedure, and the rest of the afternoon is mine. I'm doing laundry right now, and I'm just moving and grooving, but there's no pressure. And that's what I know that I need to stay regulated in my nervous system, to close off this experience in a way that it doesn't get stored as trauma. Because when we're resisting and we survive the MRI, that's a traumatic experience, and our nervous system remembers that. And so instead, I'm being very mindful and allowing this to complete the full circle. All in all, I'm really happy with how this worked out. And this is the same procedure that I've used to tackle my fear of flying. I fly like a champ now. I go to the dentist. My children have both broken a bone, and I was cool as a cucumber. My parents died. I cared for them. And this is just a joyful, enlightened, present way of living life that I wish for everyone. Because the truth is we should not ever desire to numb our feelings. When we take the time to face them and realize there's nothing wrong with them, they dissipate and go away. But when we resist them and think of them as bad, as I shouldn't feel this way, as I don't want to be scared about this MRI, that resistance creates fear, which is dysregulation, which is disconnection between you and your higher levels of consciousness. And so let me know what kind of questions you have, what things you need help with. Are there any scenarios that you'd like support with? Comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.